In this complex world, we are like ships sailing on the vast ocean, occasionally encountering the raging waves stirred up by toxic people. Have you ever been overwhelmed by their negative emotions? Have you been at a loss under their attacks? Don't worry. In this video, we will explore 10 clever ways to deal with these toxic people, just like holding 10 swords of wisdom to cut through the chaos. Stoic philosophy is like a lighthouse, illuminating the way for us to deal with these difficulties. It tells us that inner peace and rationality are our strongest shields. Before we get started, I hope you can do me a small favor and subscribe to this channel. Number 1, identify and understand harmful threats. Imagine you are at a family gathering where relatives are sitting around chatting. At this time, there is a relative who always likes to criticize others. One moment they say your job is not good, and the next moment they criticize your dressing. Such people are toxic people. They may appear in our lives in various identities, such as friends, colleagues, or relatives. Just like in a foggy forest, it seems calm around. But in fact, there are various dangers hidden. Toxic people are like traps in this forest. We need to be like keen hunters and observe their behavior patterns. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "It is not things in themselves that disturb people, but their judgments about things." We need to understand that these harmful threats are often hidden in seemingly ordinary behaviors and words. For example, that picky relative's words may be due to his own insecurity or jealousy. We identify this threat not to criticize them, but to protect ourselves. Only by clearly knowing where the danger is can we better formulate response strategies. Just like knowing the location of traps in advance in the forest, we can move forward safely. Number 2, reinforce your barriers. In this era of information explosion and complex interpersonal relationships, we are like being in a war of words every day. The negative evaluations and malicious attacks of toxic people are like sharp arrows constantly shooting at us. Suppose you have a colleague at work who always speaks ill of you behind your back and tries to damage your reputation. At this time, we need to build a solid wall around our hearts. Stoic philosophy advocates that we should strengthen our hearts and not let negative external factors easily affect us. Just like a castle with tall and thick walls, enemies find it difficult to break through. We can reinforce this barrier by affirming ourselves and strengthening our values. When facing those negative words, we should stand firm like a wall and not be moved. This is not an escape, but a wise defense, allowing us to guard the tranquility of our hearts in this challenging world of interpersonal relationships. Number 3, become uninterested in emotional savages. Imagine you are shopping in a mall when suddenly you hear 2 people arguing loudly. They are emotional, making wild gestures and trying to attract the attention of people around. When toxic people have emotional outbursts, they are like these farce actors. They long for our responses to satisfy their emotional needs. Suppose your friend flies into a rage over a small matter and shouts at you. At this time, we should be like a calm spectator and not be interested in their performances. Seneca said, "Anger is a brief madness." When we face these emotional savages, don't be driven by their madness and maintain an indifferent attitude. This is not indifference, but a strategy of using stillness to control movement. Our disinterest will make their emotional attacks like hitting cotton, with nowhere to exert force. Eventually, they will cease their attacks because they don't get a response. Number 4, don't take the bait. Have you ever had such an experience? When fishing, a fish bites the hook. When you pull it, you find it's a big fish. It struggles in the water, and you get nervous too. Toxic people are like that cunning fisherman. They use bait, such as provocation and insult, to lure us. For example, at school, there is a classmate who always deliberately pick on you and says some harsh words to stimulate you. Once we respond impulsively, we are like a fish being hooked and fall into the trap they set. Stoic philosophy tells us to be rational and not be deceived by these baits. Just like an experienced fisherman who can see the hidden hook under the bait. When facing their provocations, we should take a deep breath, analyze calmly, and not take the bait easily to avoid being dragged into meaningless conflicts and thus maintain our autonomy and inner peace. Number 5, the art of non-reaction. This is a profound realm, like the peerless martial arts of the martial arts master. In the martial arts community, when a master faces an enemy's attack, they won't make a move easily, but observe and wait for the best opportunity. When we encounter toxic people, their words and behaviors are like the enemy's attack moves. Suppose you have a leader in the office who always blames you for no reason. At this time, we should not be like a novice martial artist who retaliates in a panic as soon as being attacked. Instead, we should be like a master and use stillness to control movement. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Do not act slowly, do not speak incoherently, do not let your thoughts wander, do not pour your soul entirely into yourself or be overly restless." Do not be constantly busy in life. We need to learn to control our reactions and keep silent at the appropriate time, so that their attacks lose power in our silence. This non-reaction is not cowardice, but a powerful self-control and a winning magic weapon on the battlefield of interpersonal relationships. Number 6, limit your exposure. This is like in the scorching sun, we need to find a shady place to avoid direct sunlight. Toxic people are like that blazing sun. If we are exposed to their negative energy for a long time, our hearts will be burned. For example, you have a colleague who is always complaining and telling you all kinds of dissatisfaction every day. In life, we may not be able to completely avoid these people, but we can reduce the time and frequency of being with them. We can try to minimize the chance of being alone with them. This is not an escape, but a form of self-protection. Stoic philosophy emphasizes that we should have control over our environment, just like we can choose to stay indoors when the sun is strongest. By limiting exposure, we can give our hearts a chance to breathe and avoid being eroded by too many negative emotions, thus better maintaining our mental health. Number 7, build your support system. In a stormy sea, ships need harbors to dock and repair. In life, we will also encounter storms brought by toxic people. At this time, our support system is as important as a harbor. This support system can be our relatives and friends or like-minded groups. Suppose you encounter a very difficult client at work and feel very frustrated. At this time, you can talk to your friends. They will give you understanding, comfort, and encouragement. Although Stoic philosophy emphasizes personal inner strength, it does not ignore the positive connections between people. Just like a group of people sitting around a fire to keep warm, each other's support can give us more strength to face the cold brought by toxic people. We need to carefully maintain and expand the support system. When needed, it will become the reliance of our hearts and help us pick ourselves up again. Number 8, prioritize self-care. Imagine you are a car driving on a rugged road. If you don't refuel and maintain it in time, it will soon break down. The same is true in interpersonal relationships. The negative energy of toxic people will consume our energy. For example, recently you live with a roommate with a very bad temper. His emotions always affect you and make you feel very tired. So we should take care of ourselves like taking care of a car. This includes ensuring sufficient sleep, a healthy diet, appropriate exercise, and doing some things we like. Stoic philosophy believes that we should respect our bodies and minds. Only when we are in good condition can we better deal with external challenges. When we feel tired or under pressure, we might as well give ourselves a break, take a hot bath, read a good book, and refill ourselves with energy, just like refueling a car and continuing on our life's journey. Number 9, remember it's not about you. Many times, the behaviors and words of toxic people are projections of their own problems, just like a distorted mirror reflecting their inner chaos rather than our true appearance. For example, a classmate of yours gets angry at you because they didn't do well in the exam and says it's unfair that you can get good grades without studying hard. They may vent their jealousy, anger, or dissatisfaction on us, but we should not take these negative evaluations as our true definitions. Epictetus said, "We step onto a stage that we did not choose and perform a script that we did not choose." We need to understand that their attacks are their scripts, and we don't need to play roles according to their plots. Maintaining this understanding can free us from being bound by their negative emotions and keep us confident and independent. Number 10, don't try to fix them. Have you ever seen someone trying to fix a broken vase but ending up with injured hands? Toxic people are like that broken vase. Their problems are often deep-rooted and not easily changed by us. For example, you have a friend who is always addicted to gambling. You have persuaded him many times, but to no avail. We often fall into a misunderstanding that we feel responsible for changing them, but this may lead us into endless exhaustion and disappointment. Stoic philosophy reminds us to accept reality and focus on things we can control, that is, our own reactions and lives. Just like we can't make a broken machine run again, we need to learn to let go of this unrealistic idea and shift our attention to protecting and improving ourselves instead of getting lost on the road of fixing them. Summary: in the ocean of interpersonal relationships, we are bound to encounter storms brought by toxic people. These 10 methods are like solid anchors that help us stabilize. When we identify harmful threats, reinforce our mental barriers, be uninterested in emotional savages, avoid taking the bait, master the art of non-reaction, limit exposure, build a support system, prioritize self-care, remember not to be defined by others, and not try to fix toxic people, we will have the power to guard the tranquility of our hearts. Let's use the wisdom of Stoic philosophy to bravely face challenges and find our own peace and beauty in interpersonal relationships. Thank you for joining me today. If you find the video content helpful, welcome to leave a comment, give a thumbs up, share the link, and check out other videos in the channel. Stay with us to be stronger, smarter, and more vibrant together.